Good morning everyone and welcome back to a brand new video of Fox Flicks On Popcross Studios. Today we're checking out episode 12 of Fear of the Demon Hunters, War with the Animal Demons. And if my thinking is correct, this might just be the final episode, the end of Zuviathan. And if not, then we probably have one more episode. But either way, let's hop in and see how our demon hunting badasses can kill this. I can't think of a good insult. Put one down in the comments if y'all can. Make sure it's appropriate.
Fear of the Demon Hunters. Vivian Sabraya teamed up with the former demon queen, Fear herself, aka Arava, to try and take down the demon general Zuviathan, using a powerful artifact called the Demonitrix.
Correct.
Along the way, she also teamed up with fellow member of the Predator Coalition of
Hey, we all gonna get some more Zuviathan. Haha.
Demon Hunters, Jax, and the Archangel Capri, all while ending up on the run from the very coalition she once served. Understandably, the coalition leader, Tamika Wiggins, was skeptical of teaming up with Arava, but Viv became convinced that the now largely depowered Demon Queen could redeem herself of all the awful things she'd done. Clayton Costas, a member of the coalition who never allowed for any gray area when it came to demons, tried to kill Vivian, while the two of them were trapped in the domain of Zuviathan, and Clayton wound up on the brink of death himself. They were released from Zuviathan's domain, and, along with Tamika and two coalition members, Betsy and Bobo, they returned with Viv to Capri's home, where Vivian transformed into the demon general Sorieklis to turn Clayton's
Her own version of him, though, because Sorieklis is dead.
Body into a demon, in the hopes his soul would try and take back control. He became a demon of rage who made others enraged by breathing a red smoke onto them. Arava directed all the rage of Capri, Jax, and Tamika towards herself once they'd been infected, so Viv could take control of the demon's body and go inside his psyche to speak with his soul.
Which was thankful.
In the process, she determined that all she could truly do for his soul was release it. She returned to her own body, let any rage that tried to take over her go, gave the demon form of Clayton a hug, and his own body floated off into ash, ending his life. Let's see how her and her allies respond to this outcome in the next chapter of Fear of the Demon Hunter.
Oh, I remember my reaction to it. I mean, we all hated Clayton because he was such an asshole, but we didn't want him to die like that. And, if he had died taking out one of these demon generals was in a final attack and knew he couldn't make it, and maybe there, as he's bleeding out, he could have finally looked up to Vivian and been like, you know, kid, maybe I was too hard on you. It's not your fault that you're a demon. It was never your fault. Maybe as he's finally dying, right there in that scene, he would let go of the rage. But of course, by then, and then Vivian and then all the others wouldn't have had the idea, or wouldn't have thought of, to try to revive him as a demon like her. Well, they once said just let him peacefully die as a human. But timelines, let's move on.
Arava was trying and failing to slow her breathing as Capri healed her inside the formerly peaceful wooden cottage. She was laid out on the long cedar dining room table, grinding her teeth as gashes slowly closed and bones cracked back into place.
Oh, that's gotta hurt.
Capri's hands glowed green as he hovered them over her most obvious injuries.
I'm so sorry, Arava. I can't believe I was unable to stop myself from acting on the rage as Vivian was.
Arava winced and twitched in pain, but said,
It's fine. Clayton's smoke was probably waking up a lot of buried anger you all had for me.
Oh,
You probably
10,000%.
hated me more than Vivian ever hated Clayton. Hope it was at least cathartic for you all to beat me bloody for a bit.
Jax and Capri both said things along the lines of,
No, not at all.
while Tamika said, yeah, a little bit actually. Vivian was trying not to watch Arava. Viv may have been okay with herself being in pain, but seeing Arava so hurt was heartbreaking, even if she was being healed. Viv said, I still don't understand why I was able to release the anger so much more effectively than you, Capri. I mean, no offense, obviously. It's just,
I mean, the guy has a very peaceful nature, but one other thing is that he's also been around for a very long time. And so by, not having any kind of way of releasing that anger, it would eventually build up till eventually boiling over, or in this case, being tipped.
taught me the feeling and releasing technique. Shouldn't you be way better at it than me? He sighed.
Well, knowing something and putting it into practice are two very different things.
And that.
Over the last few
And
weeks,
that.
you have been consistently practicing this method in very dire circumstances, as you've made painful and frightening transformations into demons. I've only been actively using the technique sporadically when I feel I truly need it most. Having knowledge does not
You're
itself
consistent?
make you
He's
good at
not.
something. Only putting that knowledge into practice consistently does that. And you crammed much of that into a very short amount of time. It seems you may already be better at it than I as a result.
She took that
Well,
information
thanks,
in,
man.
but it was difficult to accept. It was almost like a point in her late teens where she realized that her parents were just people like her or anyone else. It was a feeling that was a strange blend of pride and loneliness.
Actually, yeah, I guess technically speaking, since Vivian is a demon, and they were both created by Arava, then in a way, Copri is her older brother, possibly her eldest brother.
She clearly hadn't accepted how good she'd gotten at what she was doing, but also felt if she was truly better at it than Copri, she had nobody to look up to for guidance now. Whether it felt comfortable or not, she had to rely on her own inner guidance and skills more than before. Jax cut into Vivian's train of thought as he said, "So, Clayton is really gone, right? Like his ashes aren't gonna reform somewhere or something. What
He seems
happened
gone.
when you took him over, Viv?" She sighed. "I met his soul. It was scared and frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
The way it spoke made it seem like Clayton had already been a demon before I made him one. I don't mean that literally. It's more like that experience made me realize that being a human
He had the mentality of a demon, not the actual physical traits of one. And he saw himself mentally as a demon.
in general
His own
is
kind.
similar to our souls embodying a demon.
What I mean is, when I take control of a demon, there is a huge urge to just give in to the hunger and anger and cravings of the demon. The stronger the demon, the harder it is to not just give in to the feelings that come over me.
Right.
It would be so much easier to just do that, let them control what I do and how I act. But I know that if I do that, I'll end up hurting people. Not letting those feelings control how you act is hard, but it gets easier every time I do it. The stronger the demon, like I guess the stronger the human ego you take on, the harder it is to keep control. It's almost
Right.
like Clayton's ego was as tough to control as trying to take on the form of an Archon demon or something. I definitely wouldn't want to try doing that anytime soon. I doubt I'd
Hey, you're in luck. 2 of them are dead. Do it!
have any chance of keeping control. But I don't know, in a way it sort of left me with a nice sense that everyone, as a soul, is inherently good, including Clayton, but just not necessarily good at being a human. It takes practice, and
That-
the longer you wait to start
Damn, that's actually a good ass line.
practicing being in control, the more time the ego has to build its walls to keep your soul locked inside, unable to be behind the wheel. The anger and rage inside Clayton kept building up more and more to a point where it was too overwhelming and his soul just didn't think it could ever get control back. Maybe if he had someone to teach him how to feel and process his anger at a younger age, it wouldn't have all
Mhm.
built up as much, but maybe it did get to a
He
point
needed
where
a
it
way
was
to
too
let
late
it
to
go.
start. I don't know if that's true. Maybe I did the wrong thing. Maybe he could have gotten control back slowly over time, but it really seemed like he was never going to try, so I just let him go. Copri nodded.
You made the best decision you could. If
Truly.
his soul was truly convinced it could not help itself, then any help you gave it would have done little good in the long run. People can only truly be helped if they are willing to put in the work to help
He
themselves.
would have fallen back many
Viv
times.
stepped closer to the table and leaned against it. "I guess so, but even stubborn people can be convinced to help themselves with enough encouragement." Arava met her eyes, smiled
That's
shyly,
true.
then looked back down at her now rapidly closing wounds. Viv then looked up at Tamiko with a more stern face. "You may not have had control over yourself, but you still saw what Arava did for me, right, Commander Wiggins? She put her life on the line and let you and the others pummel her to keep you all from hurting me while I dealt with Clayton. I understand that you have plenty of good reasons to not trust Arava, but is this enough for you at least to give her a shot at working with the Coalition?"
Definitely.
Tamika's
Come
arms
on.
were firmly crossed. She stepped closer to the table, looking briefly down at the healing former demon
Even just a temporary partnership would be great.
queen before turning back to Viv. Mara gave me a call after she parted ways with you, before all this craziness with Clayton happened. She said it was probably worth backing off you to let you see how this all went. If she's willing to give Arava a shot, then I guess I should be too.
Yes!
Plus, I was a bit softened up on her already from all the texts Jax has been sending me over the last few weeks. Viv whipped her head
Jax!
towards him. He shrugged. What? I wanted back in the Coalition eventually and figured some clear evidence of Arava doing good stuff would at least help Wiggins see that I wasn't totally crazy for helping her. Plus, I needed some proof and reminders for myself sometimes.
You know what? Thank
Tamika
you,
pulled
though.
out her phone and opened her texts from Jax. Viv scrolled through them. One or a few photos were sent after every mission they'd gone on in the last 3 weeks. Most of them showed Arava in action, often working well with Viv or Coppery. She'd clearly been doing all she could to help them hunt and slay demons. It was hitting Viv all at once just how
nice.
much of a life she'd lived in that short period of time. She shook off the emotions coming up, but said, Thank you, Jax. So, Commander,
Yeah,
is
I
that a
am
yes?
upset.
Arava can work with the Coalition? Through semi-gritted teeth, Tamika said, On a probationary basis.
Good
We're
enough.
all on Zuphythan's tails right now, so let's work together on finally hunting him down for good and see how that goes.
Yes, yes,
Arava
yes.
nodded and, with surprising grace, simply said,
Thank you, Commander. I won't betray your trust. I'm not digging anymore.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds like a good thing, so sure
I'm not digging anymore. Yes! She finally put down the shovel!
thing, you scary Girl Scout.
You know I'm actually over 700 years old, right?
Arava mumbled. And Clayton was actually 28. I call him like I see him.
God, he was 28? Jeez, he looked terrible.
Hannah Satana? Arava bit her tongue and just said,
Fair enough.
Bobo suddenly rushed to the table. Hey, sorry to interrupt the powwow, but we got like a WoW level problem. Betsy stepped up beside
no.
him. Oh yeah, he's really right now. Both of them set their phones on the table, playing the same news feed, but slightly off time from each other, so it was almost impossible to tell what the reporter was saying.
Someone turn off all the
Viv
phones.
asked over the voices. Can you pause one so we can hear it better? Bobo replied.
Right.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, here, yeah. They both paused their phones and the room went silent.
Oh my god!
Coppery sighed. No, we still need one of them.
One!
Betsy said. Right, no, sorry. They both reached to hit play, then stopped, looking at each other. They both put their fingers closer, then stopped again.
One
Are
of
gonna-
you.
No, you go, I'll...
One
me
of
then.
you.
Jack slapped his phone on the table. Okay, enough. I'm guessing this is what they were looking at, and they're right. We've got a problem.
Oh god.
Vivian immediately recognized downtown Denver, Colorado, but the obvious point of concern was the Hippo Demon, using his tails to tear letters off the Union Station rooftop sign and hurl them at the fleeing civilians below. The footage then cut to another part of the city, where a snake demon was binding itself around a city bus and crushing it with people trying to leap out to safety, only to be faced with a mole demon digging up through the street to grab 3 of them and pull them into its pit.
Oh
It
crap.
cut back to Zuphythan on the roof as his tails lashed up towards a newscopter. The footage showed as he snatched the vehicle and pulled it in closer. The propellers of the copter struck his head and just shattered off him. New horns and spikes were slowly growing out of his flesh. He stared into the camera with all 4 eyes as he snarled.
Uh-oh.
We demons have been lurking too long in the shadowy armpits of this world. It's time for us to strike. You humans have started being afraid of all the wrong things. If you thought inflation was bad, wait till you get a load of us.
He chomped around the camera, and the cry of the cameraman was the last thing they could hear before the feed went to static, then to another shot across the city. Bobo muttered, Did that cameraman keep filming even after the chopper got snatched by a hippopotamus monster?
A pound
What a
freaking leap.
legend. Pour one out for him.
Viv looked up
Yeah,
at them.
pull one out for that
He's
guy.
going public already. This is because of me. Jax replied, What? Stop. How is this on you? Viv wasn't guilt-ridden by what had occurred, just very direct and confident as she said, I showed him that I could take on the form of Sorieklis and steal control of the dinosaur demons from him. He's afraid that I'm going to take
Oh,
control
yeah.
over all demons if he lets me get more powerful. He needs something to make people really scared of him and his animal demons to make sure I can't beat him. This is going to be world news almost immediately, and all the fear is going to fuel him more and more, making him so powerful he may become unbeatable. I need to get there right now.
It's time
Arava
to kill
jumped
him.
up from the table, basically fully healed, and stood in front of her.
Correction. We need to get there right now.
Hell
Cat's out of
yeah.
the bag. There's gonna be no covering up that demons are real. So we at least need to give the world hope that there are people who know how to fight back against them.
Time to kill
Tamika
some
interjected.
demons.
Can't Final Girl here just use the Demonatrix to take over Zuphiathan's body and stop this attack right now?
God no, he's way too powerful. Well, if C was to do that right now, her whole soul and ego would be completely engulfed by him, and his fear and all of that. And there's no way of taking over a mind as powerful as his. Maybe if we could weaken him into another weakened state, it might be possible to take some of his power, but it would not be able to immediately erase him.
Viv shook her head. Technically I could try, but I think the only reason I was able to hold control over a demon general as powerful as Sorieklis is because he's dead. So when I took on his powers, it's kind of like his consciousness wasn't in there with me trying to take control back. But that
That's
also
another
means
thing.
if we kill Zuphiathan, then I can take on his powers and command all the animal demons to stop attacking. Plus, like Arava said, killing him publicly will be really good to minimize the amount of fear the world takes away from this event.
Definitely.
Vivian then had a thought.
The fear would still be there, but so would but so as well would be a blinding new hoping light.
She should be too tired and injured to go and take on Zuphiathan in that moment. She'd just fought the ice dinosaur demons Mara, Zuphiathan's domain, and Clayton. But she felt totally fine. She looked down at herself and realized that all her own injuries were gone. Until that moment, she'd been too distracted with other matters to notice. Wait, Capri, did you heal me? When did you have time to do that?
Dude, I didn't do anything.
He shrugged.
Well, you were transforming Clayton for the better part of 5 hours, and were essentially just sitting in a trance. That gave me plenty
Oh.
of time to heal you, myself, and all of our injuries from the day.
Viv certainly
Huh.
hadn't felt like she'd spent that long
Nice.
transforming Clayton, but regardless, she was grateful to be back in peak healthy condition.
Thanks, Godfrey.
Right. Thank you. Then we're as ready as we'll ever be to take on Zuphiathan.
Let's kick
but
some
we
ass.
don't know how strong he is right now or how many animal demons he's brought with him. Odds are he didn't call in any dinosaur demons because he knows I'll be coming. He may have even sent them all as far away as he could. Either way, once I transform, I'll send a demon link message to all of them, if I can, to make them come fight
All dinosaur demons, attack Zuphiathan. Kill him.
with us. Tamika, Betsy, and Bobo can bring the coalition to fight, and Capri... You know one of the most reassuring things that people could see right now, since
An
they've
angel?
learned demons are real? He nodded.
An angel.
Angels fighting back.
Hell yeah.
I can call them in, but I can't guarantee they'll willingly answer to
That's
become
fine.
public figures known the world over.
Just make the call, that's
Tamika
all.
then added, I just messaged Paul, and he says our fastest jet is already in the air. But that'll take at least an hour to get the dozen hunters on board to Denver.
Got some hunters stationed in other parts of the world that are heading in too, but unless we get some so-called angelic help teleporting our folks in, it's gonna be a while until the coalition can do much good.
Unfortunately,
Viv then looked
yeah.
down at the watch Mara had given her and turned it on. She scrolled through the very easy-to-use menus.
Hey,
Capri will need all
okay.
his energy for fighting, but you should be able to use this, right? Kushmara gave it to me, and you have one too, don't you, Commander? Tamika shook her head.
What? Oh, I was wondering what was going on with Arava here. Oh, that's technically blood bleeding out of her ear and nose. Add some coming out of the eye, and you can tell how much stress she's putting on herself.
Back at the base, yeah, but those are for teleporting across dimensions, not across parts of the planet. Here, I've got it, Vivian interrupted.
Oh,
a hologram of their world appeared over her watch with the label Dimension D667. She zoomed in on Colorado. She could only zoom in as close as the general Denver area, but she clicked on the city and a message appeared. Teleportation request acknowledged. Press to initiate. Tamika's jaw
Hell
dropped.
yes.
What? I've had one of these dang things for ages and nobody ever told me they could do that. Why have I been flying everywhere? What Tamika didn't realize was that because Vivian's was newer, it had a firmware update that Tamika's older model didn't have.
That's
so technically,
why.
Tamika's watch couldn't do the same thing yet. Regardless, Vivian stepped into the middle of the group. Okay, I don't know exactly how this works, but everyone grab onto me and hope it takes us all. They all stepped closer and put hands on her arms and shoulders. Viv looked down at Arava. Ready? The former demon queen nodded. Viv hit the button, and in a quick purple blink,
Let's do
they
this.
were all suddenly transported and standing in a massive parking lot, looking towards downtown Denver. Cars screeched and honked, hopping up onto the sidewalks to get around crashes as everyone was fleeing from the city center. Viv glanced around and quickly realized they'd been transported to the lot outside the sports dome called Ball Arena. They weren't far from the station they'd just seen Zufayathan ravaging on the news.
Perfect.
Vivian took off the watch and handed it to Tamika. Get as many hunters here as fast as you can. We'll handle Zufayathan, but in the meantime, make sure as many people as possible see that demons can be beaten. Tamika nodded. On it. Go get that now.
Time to bit slap a demon.
Nasty hippo final girl. Viv smiled with immense determination. We will, but I'm not going to be the final girl on this mission. All of my friends are coming home this time.
Oh,
Tamika stepped back with Betsy and Bobo and started fidgeting with the watch. Viv looked around and saw a pickup truck in the lot. She nodded for the others to follow and ran to the other side of it from the street, just to keep civilians from seeing her gruesome transformation. She then nodded to her 3 allies and said, If he tries to open any black voids and send you into his domain, avoid them as best you can. He's not splitting us up again. We do this together. We've been preparing for this with every demon we've beaten, and now we are ready. We've all done stuff we regret, but we've all been doing our best to prove we're better than we used to be.
It's time for
and now
redemption.
We've basically just been given the ultimate redemption opportunity. It'll be hard to not see ourselves as good people after we get out there and literally save the world. And even if we fail or something goes wrong, I just want you all to know that I think you're all good people. She looked down very deliberately into Arava's eyes.
That is worthy of a hug.
Arava's lip trembled slightly as she nodded appreciatively. Jack spun his angelic warhammer. I hope Avery's watching from somewhere, because I'm going to put on a good show for her. Copry nodded,
Knock the
looking
block.
slightly anxious.
Whether my siblings agree to aid us or not, I am grateful to face a challenge like this alongside a group that has made me feel as though I found a new family. One that I promise I
2
will not
hugs.
let down.
Arava took a breath.
They'll come, Copry, and you can tell them I'm here, and I know I've got some apologies to make to them when this is over.
This is gonna be
With
good.
that, Vivian began her transformation. The second she felt the mental connection forming to the network of dinosaur demons across the world, she sent out a call. Any demons who hear this, I command you. I ask you to come to my location and fight back against the forces of the demon general Zufayathan.
Yes.
The only fear you should consume today is that of Zufayathan and his army.
Yes.
At the same time, Copry put 2 fingers against the spot between his eyebrows and quietly said,
Brothers, sisters, please hear me. I know I have not earned back your trust as a leader. I do not call upon you at this moment with the intention to give you orders or force you to do
Only a
anything,
request.
but I implore you to come and help with the conflict that I'm sure you've seen or sensed has begun. I know we've all had our share of bitterness towards humanity.
Okay, you know what? I think this is actually gonna be our penultimate episode. We're gonna get definitely one more, and it's gonna be the end of Zufayathan.
And some of you may think they don't deserve to widely know of our existence.
Oh god, don't kill
I
Copry.
hold no judgment towards any of you if you feel that way, and will not be angry if you choose not to help. I have no intention of making you come join me out of guilt. But, regardless of what you all do, Arava, my human allies, the Coalition, and myself are going to do everything we can to ensure that humanity knows they are not alone in combating the forces of fear. Also, our mother has some words of remorse for you that she'll share when you grant her the opportunity.
When
I actually like that. Copry said, "Our mother, yes."
Copry finished sending his call and Vivian completed her transformation, she sprouted a massive pair of pterodactyl-like wings and grabbed Arava. Copry grabbed onto Jax, and they soared off towards Union Station.
Let's
It only
kick
took them a
some
moment
ass.
before they could see the animal demon general cackling as he hurled more debris down at the still fleeing civilians. He raised a large letter S with his tail and searched for a target.
Eeny, meeny, miny. Oh, big man with a little dog. That'll do.
He hurled the letter right towards a
Yeah!
rotund man trying to sprint away with a chihuahua under his arm.
Aw.
Viv released Arava, who then hovered in the air, as Viv dove fast enough for a crack of sound to burst around her.
The man glanced back, seeing the letter nearly upon him. Terror filled his eyes, but Vivian tackled right into the letter and smashed it through the window of a building beside him.
Yes!
She skidded to a stop on the ground. Standing a solid 2 feet taller than him in her Sorieckless form, she looked him up and down and asked, "Are you all right?" He just stared at her, slack-jawed, muttering as if trying to say anything.
Vivian, look out!
Capri called, making Viv turn just in time to see a large letter T hurtling towards her. She thrust her arm forward, formed into a Tyrannosaurus-like head. The jaw grew large enough to catch the letter midair and drop it to the ground in front of her.
Oh,
Some
this
of the
is
fleeing
awesome.
crowd had slowed and stopped to look at her in awe and confusion. Some had phones and cameras out aimed at her. She looked back at them all. "Please, keep going. I promise help is coming, but you still need to get as far out of the city as possible."
Run as fast
Careful
as you
not
can.
to flap so hard to make a dangerous gust of wind, Viv flew back up into the air and towards the demon general. He had grabbed another letter to throw, but Capri dropped Jax on the rooftop, then flew in and smashed the letter to pieces with his mace before the demon could throw it. He then whacked his mace into the demon's head, making a slight puff of ash burst off him. But then Zuphiathan chomped his mighty jaw at the angel, who barely pulled his wing out of the bite's path in time.
Ooh,
He
that was
retreated
close.
slightly higher into the air as Jax ran in and smashed his hammer onto the demon's knee. He groaned in pain and sent 2 zebra-like tails swiping towards Jax. Luckily, Arava had floated down to the roof and made 4 of her own tendrils burst up from it to grab his tails, holding them off long enough for Jax to fall back.
Yes, yes.
Vivian then flew up and over Zuphiathan's head, flipped over herself, and hammered her massive club tail onto the demon's snout. The demon general groaned, but then just let out a sneeze.
Oh, that's better. Had that one stuck in there for a while. Glad you finally showed up to the party. Though I gotta say, I was kind of banking on the Coalition commander going postal on you after seeing Clayton's body turned into a human corn dog on your stinger. Guess I underestimated her smarts on that one. Unless she did attack you and you just killed her for me so I don't have to deal with her now that I'm taking this whole world in the name of
Leviathan,
humankind.
shut the
Vivian
hell
remained
up.
flapping in the air above him. Tamika is fine and is bringing the whole coalition in as we speak. You did underestimate her, and you've underestimated all of us. You revealed yourself to the world just to get a public execution. He chuckled.
I don't think so. I did underestimate you, but I'm not making that mistake again. Maybe you can't see it yet, but I'm already powerful enough to take all of you on. Can't you smell the fear in the air? The whole planet is falling into confusion and terror
It
as
is
more
pungent.
people see what I'm doing here.
But
All
it ain't
that
the
fear
end.
is directed right at me, and I'm getting stronger and stronger with every terrified human my demons devour.
Viv could see that even in that moment, his body was slowly growing and his flesh getting more armored. Zuphiathan continued.
Okay, that's
Soon I'll
impressive.
be the most powerful demon that ever existed. Even Mama here at her peak couldn't beat me. Heck, soon even the Archons themselves will look at me and be quaking in their pretentious boots.
His 4
Good luck
tails
with
each
that.
sprang out at a
Ass.
different target. Each one spawned claws at their ends. Vivian snatched the one coming for her in her own T-Rex jaw arm. She tried to chomp the claw off, but couldn't bite through. Capri managed to dodge around his, and Arava tangled hers up in a cascade of her own tendrils.
What up?
Jack spun all the way around and swung his hammer to smack away the one coming for him, but his strike just managed to close the claw. It still shot forwards and smacked into him, sending him rolling across the roof and falling off the edge.
Oh, that's kinda
Arava
hot.
saw this and made another tendril burst out from the wall to grab him and raise him back up. Unfortunately, with her focus split, the claw she'd been binding burst free, shot forward, and snapped around her leg. She shrieked in pain as it
Ooh,
raised her up and
that's
swung
kinda
her
hot.
down to smash her into the roof. Vivian shot down towards her and thrust her wing out to cushion the blow. It hit harder than she expected, though, barely softened Arava's landing and made Vivian collapse to the roof, too. Jax had just managed to get back on the roof and ran towards Vivian, seeing that the claw that had come for him was now going for her. It snatched around her leg, but Jax swung his hammer over his head and slammed it down on the tail. It released Viv just enough for her to pull back, but then whipped around and struck Jax again, sending him rolling once more towards the end of the roof.
Oh, no.
He slipped over
Oh,
the
boy.
side but caught hold of the ledge. He barely managed to swing his heavy warhammer back on top of the roof when he saw 2 more claws headed towards him. He considered just dropping to get out of the way, but Capri flew right into their path and smacked one into the roof. The other managed to
Yes,
snatch
yes.
his wing and yank him towards Zuphiathan.
No,
He
no.
was being pulled right towards the demon's open maw. Vivian flew in first and shifted the jaw on the end of her hand into a Dilophosaurus demon and spat acid right into Zuphiathan's mouth. He slammed his teeth shut, then spat and shook out his tongue.
Hey, I ordered no spice on my angel wings. I'm usually not that guy, but I'm gonna have to send them back.
He hurled Copri right into Viv. Copri's horn smashed right into her nose, and they both fell back to the roof again, though Viv managed to
Ooh.
spread her wings and slow to land on her coiled
This
tail.
is a great fight.
Jax had managed to pull himself up and ran over to them. Guys, I know we wanted to do this together, but not being able to fly and having no powers is gonna make me more of a burden than a help up here. Before
Yeah,
the others
I'm
could
kind of
say
out of it.
anything, Zuphiathan chuckled.
Full disclosure, he is absolutely right. As long as you keep the squishy human here, I'll keep going for him, so you're all too busy protecting him to...
Arava sent 3 tendrils up to bind
Oh.
Zuphiathan's maw. It only held for a few seconds, but at least shut him up. Viv looked at Jax. Are you sure? You deserve to be a part of this win. He looked down
Want to
towards
be,
the streets to see
but
the
I'm
mole
just a
demon
human,
digging
unlike
back up
y'all.
out of the ground again. Thankfully, a few demon hunters were running in to attack it. Tamika had clearly already gotten some hunters into the city, but there was a hint of fear in their eyes as they ran full tilt into a war with a city full of demons.
If anything, Jax doesn't need to be in a fight with Leviathan, but he can be down on the ground and leading the other hunters in against the other demons. Because if he and them can take them out, slowly they can regain hope, and Leviathan's power will slowly start to diminish. Hopefully, being
Jax
the
nodded.
keyboard.
Yeah, I know where I'm needed most. You guys handle the big boss and I'll help the hunters keep people safe. Vivian gave him a quick hug and said, Be careful. He shrugged. No promises, but I'll be calm at least. Copri grabbed Jax
what
and
you
flew
can.
him down towards the street. He dropped him right behind the mole demon, and Jax immediately smashed his hammer into its back
Whack-a-mole!
before it reached the 2 oncoming hunters. It whipped around, hissing at him, but before it even fully faced him, Jax's hammer was smashing a dent into its head. Meanwhile, Viv turned to Arava on the rooftop.
Straight
Hold him down
whack-a-mole.
as much as possible. She raised her arm as it shifted into a Giganotosaurus-like head, getting larger and larger. I'm gonna have a snack. Arava
Oh,
made a
yeah.
dozen
Tear
tendrils
that
burst
flesh.
up out of the ground, and black liquid immediately dripped from her ears.
Hope he tastes better than he looks.
Viv sprang up into the air as Arava sent all her tendrils lashing at Zuphiathan to grab him. He yanked and pulled his limbs away, but she at least managed to keep him in one spot. Viv thrust her arm forward and it stretched towards him like a thick, fleshy vine. The jaw on its
Okay, so now we're getting the scene he's been drawing.
end
Yes.
aimed for his neck, but he managed to pull back out of the way. Thankfully, it still managed to chomp into his arm. Purple ooze burst from the wounds as her teeth dug in, and more spurted out as the jaw clamped
Tail
harder
it.
around the limb.
Tail the flesh.
Zuphiathan yanked his other arm free from Arava's tendrils, but before he could grab Viv's dinosaur jaw, Copri flew back down and smashed his mace onto Zuphiathan's knuckles, cracking his hand.
Oh!
Zuphiathan growled in fury, then glanced into the air to see another news helicopter in the distance, filming the scene of the animal demon general being pinned.
This really isn't how I wanted my debut to go. I got all pampered and pretty for this, but...
Bull.
I guess that arm was never my best feature anyway. Maybe it was just holding me back.
His entire body
He's gonna rip it off himself.
suddenly
Oh,
flexed
God.
and a pulse ran through him that shook Arava's tendrils, making them slightly loosen. He stomped forwards and roared furiously as he ripped his own arm off in Viv's maw. Without it holding him back, he stomped towards Vivian, and out of his mouth sprang a thick frog-like tongue that latched around one of her wings and pinned it awkwardly against her body. Copri tried to fly in for a strike, but Zuphiathan's tails got in his way. The demon general ripped Vivian out of the sky and pulled her right towards his maw. She smashed her tail into his stomach, but he choked through the strike, still pulled her in, and slammed his massive hippo jaw right down around her spine.
No!
The crunch could be heard across a full city block, but he chomped again and again, until Arava finally got a few tendrils around his lower jaw and ripped his head down to the rooftop where Viv rolled out of his teeth. Copri flew down and violently
Oh,
smashed
God.
his mace into the demon's head, forcing him to pull back and retreat to the edge of the building as he relentlessly struck. Arava lashed her tendrils at his legs as she called.
Vivian, you're okay, right?
There was no response.
Oh, God.
Arava turned to her fallen ally and saw that Vivian was lying on her back, and her body was slowly transforming.
Viv?
Huh?
Vivian, just say something.
Wait.
Still,
What's
no
going on?
answer came. Arava ran over and dropped to Vivian's side, seeing that her eyes were wide open, but she was wheezing in rapid gasps of air. She was trying to speak, but
That would make a lot of sense. He just faced a lot of trauma to the torso.
nothing came as her body continued to transform
back into her human state.
Oh crap.
Viv, stop. You can do this. We need you in your sorry Ekless form. Please, what are you doing?
Capri suddenly slammed down onto the roof next to them with one of his wings missing. He snarled in pain as golden blood pooled on the ground around him. The roof shook as Zoofiathan stomped towards them again.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, there it is. You can just smell the fear building. And I've decided if I had to lose one, we're all losing a limb in this fight. Pigeon Boy's down one, so who's next?
Oh,
Lost
crap.
limbs all around.
Oh crap.
His clawed tails raised up behind him and snapped in the air. He thrust all four down towards Arava before she had any idea what to do. Instinctively, she threw up her tendrils to block, but the claws snapped through them quickly. The closest one got within inches of Arava's neck.
Oh crap.
Curved, glowing blades soared through the air and sliced two of the tails in half.
Oh,
Another
oh.
shot through the air and just missed the other tail, but it stalled in midair, then both blades flew back in the direction they'd come from and managed to carve apart a third tail.
Yes.
In the air above, catching
Yes.
both blades, was a tall, broad, fiery-haired archangel.
The only one losing their limbs today will be you, demon.
Before Zoofiathan
Yes!
could react, another angel, broader and stockier than the one above, with bull horns on his head, swiped past the demon's head and smashed a massive hammer against
Tauros Ares.
him. It was a similar weapon to what Jax carried, but nearly twice the size. A chunk of Zoofiathan's snout came off in the strike, and he shook his head furiously
Yes!
as the angel slid to a stop between Vivian and Zoofiathan. Another, more feminine voice soon spoke from above. The wielder of the Demonitrix is badly injured and must be removed from harm for further assistance. All civilians have evacuated the station, though, so don't feel the need to hold back anyone. The angel floating above had
I don't know which one that could be.
golden crab-like claws that opened around her more human-like hands.
Cancel. There you go.
Capri was nearly in shock, seeing his three remaining angelic family members
So we got Capricorn, Aries, Tauros, and Cancel. Hell yes.
together.
Aristo, Torbus, Cancelia, thank you for heeding my call.
And what? No thank you for us?
An eerie voice
Huh?
called from behind Zoofiathan. A stinger blade suddenly pierced through the demon general's shoulder. Then a red and black scorpion demon hurled itself over Zoofiathan,
Volgo!
slashing him across the eye with one of its claws, before landing down in front of Torbos. Capri ignored his bleeding wing and stood up.
Scorpario?
Oh, right. My mistake. Not Volgo. Scorpio.
What are you? How?
Another
That's five.
demon, this one like a human, but with two torsos and heads splitting off from a single waist,
Gemini.
clambered up onto the building to join them. Both heads spoke at once.
What, you thought that message wouldn't come through to all your siblings?
When
When we saw on the news that you and Mom were actually working together, we had to come see for ourselves.
Holy shit! We're going to get all of them! Well, all that are alive, because we know that Leo is at least dead, unfortunately. But still, holy shit! We're up to 6!
Finally, another demon that looked like a frightening yet elegant woman holding two equally sized spiky bowls dangling on chains in each hand floated
Libra! Holy crap! That means we have 7!
down to the roof.
It has been some time since I had any hope harmony could be brought back to our family. But if Fear herself and Capri have truly made up, then perhaps anything is possible.
The team of angels and demons all stood and flew before Zoofiathan, but still growing slowly larger, he reached
Holy
down and
crap.
grabbed his arm. He shoved it into the side of his stomach and it reattached, much lower down than it had once been, but it did begin to work again.
Oh, I wasn't actually sure I could do that. Anyway,
So he was just like, let me see if I can just shove this. Oh, wait, look at that. Huh. You know, I didn't even know this would walk, but holy crap, it actually is walking.
what an adorable little family reunion. But I read my horoscope this morning, and it said as long as I avoid dairy and don't text my ex, I should have no problem slaughtering
text
all
your
my
ex.
enemies. So bring it on.
Capri was overwhelmed with emotions as he saw his siblings all working together, charging in to attack the demon general. Arava would have
This
been
is
as well,
awesome.
if her focus hadn't been elsewhere. Cancelia flew down to Vivian, who was nearly transformed back to her human form, and, as gently as she could, scooped her up and flew her a few building tops over. Arava hovered after her, and Capri grabbed his severed wing, while using his other to glide as best he could along after Cancelia. She gave an encouraging nod to Capri and Arava after setting Vivian down, then flew back to aid her siblings in battle.
Holy
Vivian's
shit.
transformation finished.
She returned to her human form, and as soon as she did, she started panting. Arava, Capri, I can't move. Capri set down his severed wing and weapon, then put his glowing green hands over her heart and head. He quickly said,
Parts of your neck and spinal column have been fractured, and there is serious nerve damage preventing your mind from communicating with your body. I can fix this, but even at my best, it could take an hour. If it is possible for you to transform right now, attempting to do so may just make the matter even worse and kill you. Turning back to this form may have already made things worse.
Yeah.
Vivian forced her breathing to slow and said, I didn't transform on purpose. Just heal me as much as you can in 5 minutes, then let me try to turn back. I need to get back out there.
5 minutes? Dude, unless Capri is joined by his siblings, you ain't doing shit in 5 minutes.
We need Soriaklis' power.
No!
Arava yelled.
I was wrong. If you're this badly hurt, we don't need you. I'm not letting you take a risk like that. There's a lot more of us to handle Zuphiathan now, so just sit the rest of the fight out, Viv.
She clearly wanted to shake her head, but couldn't. I can't do that, Arava. Look what's happening. Her eyes were staring past Arava back to the rooftop, where Zuphiathan had already sprouted 5 new tails and was still managing to get bigger and stronger as the Zodiac angels and demons struggled to get any damaging blows on him. Worse still, Zuphiathan had clearly called in backup, as more of the animal demons from around the city were approaching the station. Arava turned back.
I don't care. I'm not risking losing you. I need you. I can't go back to everyone thinking I'm a monster again.
Viv chuckled softly. Oh yeah? That's why you don't want me to die? Not because you'd miss me? Arava shook her head.
Shut up. Of course I'd miss you. I can't even imagine wanting to live if you didn't, but beyond that, people only think they can trust me because of you. I can't do this without you.
This is really heartfelt.
Vivian stared at Arava more sincerely.
I like it.
Hey, don't say that. Arava, the reason people are starting to see you as a trustworthy, maybe even good person isn't because I told them to. It's because you're proving that you genuinely want to do good things. Whether I'm here or not, as long as you keep doing that, keep trying to be a better person, maybe not everyone will see it, but the people who matter most will. I'm not the one who's been redeeming you. You've been doing it all yourself. Yes. You already proved to me that I was right about you. There was always good in you, and you're finally letting it show. Tears spilled from Arava's eyes, and Capri put a gentle hand on her back, nodding in agreement with what Vivian had said. Arava turned and looked back at the dire battle occurring with the demon general, then at the street, where more demon hunters had arrived to help. She then spotted Tamika fighting alongside Jax to finish off the mole demon, with the multiverse jumping wristwatch on her arm.
Ooh.
Arava looked back down at the Demonatrix in Vivian's shoulder. An idea came to her, one that she didn't want to act on, but she knew.
Oh, hold on. I'm just gonna guess this, but is Vivian about to suggest Arava takes the Demonatrix and puts it on?
It was the true good thing to do. She then set her palm on the Demonatrix and said,
Gem of the Demonic, return to your creator.
The gem glowed and sparked with green light, and Arava quickly pulled it out of Vivian's shoulder. She immediately shoved it into her...
Okay, hey, so technically my plan is what that... Okay, yes.
Her own chest, and green electricity pulsed...
Straight to the chest! Holy crap!
...across Arava's body. Vivian called after her as Arava stood up. Wait, how did you... What are you doing? Arava took a breath.
I'm calling in some really, really powerful backup.
Oh, this is gonna be one hell of an ultimate episode, and I cannot wait to see what it is. But I have to wait a week because of how I record these. Damn it! Oh!
And now we're down to 1 episode left in Fear of the Demon Hunters, and yes, I do know it will be 1 more episode because I've written the script. It'll be a pretty long episode, probably about the length of this one, maybe even a bit longer, but we are down
about
to
40
1
minutes
more,
or
which
so.
is coming out on Monday. So besides that, that's all
Oh,
for
I
today,
can't
except of
wait.
course for ending this video on some kind of positive or inspiring note. And the thought I want to leave people with is a quote that I reread recently, which says that you don't need to suffer in order to grow. But if you are suffering, you can always use that as fuel for growth. So if you're going through some
That
kind
is
of
true.
difficult time or have recently, you can always look at that and analyze it from the lens of what can I take out of this to make me better in the long run? What insecurities
That's right.
might this be forcing me to look at within myself? In what ways might I have caused part of this situation, and how can I ensure that I don't do that again in the future? There's always something useful that can be learned from our pain and suffering. I
You can
hope
always
that's
learn,
inspiring. I
and you
love
can
you
always
all, and I'll
grow.
see you all in the next episode on Monday. Goodbye.
Alright everyone, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of y'all next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.